Welcome students who are taking Math for Business and Finance and Math Applications. This set of videos are on the Chapter 6 drill problems, the odd number problems. And just as a reminder, since these are, to me personally, are relatively easy, and I think I'll be flying through quite a few of these. If you don't, as a reminder, if you don't understand something, feel free to pause, rewind, watch the video again until you get it. If you have any questions, you can always call, telephone, or email an instructor to help you understand the problems. Okay, so let's get started here and get to the new slide. And let me get my pen here. There we go. Okay, so problem 6-1. Convert the following decimals to percents. Remember that percents, we're talking about converting by 100. That's what percents are about. So to do this, we have 0.78, and what we can do is we multiply by 100, and that gives us 0.0087. And since I have 2 decimal places, I move the decimal place over, so I end up with 78%. Now, yeah, that was doing the math. The easy way to do this is, notice that up here, I had went 2 places. Well, if you go back to the earlier chapters when we were talking about decimal places and going to the right and going to the left, okay, when we have a number, let's call it 1.2345 here, right? Remember that this here's the tenths place and this is the hundredths place. So if I have my decimal place and I move over 2 places, I'm actually talking about this hundredths place here, all right? So the easy way to do this is I just move my decimal place over 1, 2, put the decimal place there, and put a 0 after it. So I have 78.0, okay, is the percent. Since that's 0, we can just write it 78. Okay, so that's the math and the theory behind it. So let's move on. These are going to be pretty repetitive. 6-3. I have 0.7. Okay. I need to move over 2 places. Well, this is 1 place, so I add a 0 and put another place and add the 0. So I have 70.0% or 70%. 6-5, right? Convert the following. Okay, get the pen. So I have 3.561. Again, move the decimal 1 place, 2 places. So I have 356.1%. 6-7. Okay, now this is the opposite. Whereas when we're going from decimals to percents, we are multiplying by 100. 0.1653, and since this is 1, 2, 3 places here, 1, 2, 3, end up with 356.1%, but that's because I am multiplying by 100. When I'm going from percents to decimals, I'm doing just the opposite. I'm dividing by 100. So if I have 8%, and if I divide it by 100, here's my decimal place, and I have to add in 2 places because I'm talking about hundredths here. So 108 doesn't go, 180 doesn't go, so that's 0. 100 into 800 is 8. That gives me 800 with a 0 as a remainder. So my decimal now is 0.08. Okay, so that's how we go from percents to decimals. But just as I said in the previous slide, if I have my decimal place here, I'm also looking going to the left, I'm looking going to the right. Well, if I have 1.234, okay, and if I'm talking about a percentage here, what I'm doing is I'm going to the left. I would go 1 place, and then 2 places, all right? So it end up with 0.01234. Well, that's how we're doing this with the 8%. Here's my 8 with a decimal, and these are all zeros, on into infinity. But when I'm going for a percent to a decimal, I'm going to go in the opposite direction. I'm going to go one position here and another position here, okay? And so I end up with 0.08, which is my answer. So the easy way to do this is with my 8%, I just 1, 2, stick in the 0, and that's what I end up with, okay? So just as a quick little cheat sheet, from decimals to percents, you want to multiply by 100, and to go from percents to decimals, you divide by 100, and that's if you're doing all of the long math. But again, the easy way to do it is if I have 8% and I'm going from percents to decimals, I go to the left. If I have a decimal, okay, and I want to convert it into a percent, I go to the right. I move the decimal place to the right. So that's for your quick little cheat sheet. All right. 6-9. Get my red pen here. I have, come on, here, I'm having a difficult time with the pen. I have 64 3/10. Okay. So when I'm looking at this as a fraction, I need to consider what that is in a percentage term. Okay, so I'm going to have to convert this 3/10 into a percent. Okay, because 64 is a whole number, right? And 3/10 is a fraction of the number. Well, 3/10, right? I'm just going to take 3 and divide by 10, and I'm going to get, 3, right? Because that's a 0, right? 3 in the 30 goes 3 times. So I have 0.3. Well, if I have 64 and I just add the 0.3 to it, I get 64.3%. Now from there, since I'm going from percents to decimals, okay, I'm going to divide by 100, or I move the decimal place. Well, I'm going to move the decimal place 1, 2, and stick it there, so I end up with 0.643 as my decimal for the 64 3/10 of a percent. Okay, all right, let me just quickly go over that again, real quick. Okay, so I have 64 3/10 of a percent. We have to convert this fraction into a decimal, and we do that by taking 3 is in the numerator, and remember this comes from chapter 1 or 2 work, dividing it by 10. Okay. We add the 0, 3 goes into 10 goes into 3, 0 can't go in, 10 into 30 is 3, so that's 30, ends up with 0, so we end up with 0.3. That's what this 3/10 is equal to, 0.3 as a decimal. The fraction is equal to 0.3 as a decimal, and since I have 64, 0.0 as a whole number, I can add the 0.3. I end up with 64.3 as the decimal, but we're still talking about this as a percentage, and that's all of the math to convert this 64 3/10 into a number that we can work with as a percent in order to be able to convert it into a decimal. And when we're here, all it is just dividing by 100, or the shortcut method is just moving it over to the left, moving the decimal place over to the left 2 places. So I end up with 0.643 as my decimal. Okay. Right, with that said, I'm at 10 minutes, so I'm going to stop right here and move on in the next video.